welcome to Teddy's Universe. Hey, welcome to the universe. Hey, welcome to Teddy's Universe.
2-in-1 weekend. Y'all getting blessed again. 2-in-1 weekend. What's going on, y'all? It's your boy Teddy Blackmon. I'm here to see how well we did for the opening weekend of the NBA playoffs, 2025 edition, and the results of Wrestlemania 41. So without further ado, we're going to get right into the wrestling portion of it, and then we'll end off with the NBA. This will be probably a little bit longer than the last one. Might be the same length. We'll see how fast we get through things. So we're going to start with WrestleMania Night 1, which opened up with Jey Uso defeating Gunther, and it was a decent match. Match ran about 15 minutes long. Surprised that they had Gunther tap out to lose the title. This was everything was on the line. Gunther did look pretty strong except for the tap out, I believe, because Gunther was doing moves I never seen him really do before. Obviously, he's a heel, so Gunther cheated, which is, for his version of heel, it's rare that he cheats. So I'm glad that, when all else was failing, he cheated to win the titles. I'm glad that wrestling, at least on WWE's behalf, the heels are starting to go they're starting to be more old school heels. Even though they're introducing us to new versions and variants of heels, I'm liking that they're going back to the OG tactics that heels we using. Because I feel like every heel should at least attempt to cheat. I ain't saying you gotta do it every match, but it should be every other match and stuff like that. I understand some dominant heels. Gunther's one of them. Brock Lesnar, Roman. Well, not gonna say Roman Reigns, because Roman Reigns and them did cheat an awfully lot. There was a stretch where Roman probably went 2 years where he was just cheating. So I'm not gonna say him. But yeah, solid match. Glad Jey Uso finally gets to bump himself out of that tag team division. I know he'll be back eventually, especially before he retires. But it's always cool to see the prominent tag teams split up and elevate to the top titles. We saw it with New Day, with Big E and Kofi Kingston winning championships. Back in the day, you saw when the Hardys split up and Matt Hardy and Jeff Hardy went on to win their respective world championships and everything like that. Obviously Edge and Christian. So I'm real happy to see Jey Uso had this moment. I wish they would do the same with Jimmy, because Jimmy is super talented and entertaining. But we'll see how this run goes. I'm not really expecting a lengthy run from Jey Uso. Maybe a couple of months, few months if that. But he deserved this. This was his WrestleMania moment. He'll remember this forever. And so proud of the Samoan family, man. So we're gonna get into the tag team championships, the World Tag Team Championships. That is, where this match was about I guess 7-8 minutes or something like that. Quick match. New Day defeated the War Raiders, which I had predicted. Also predicted Jey Uso. So right now we sitting at 2-0. Again, the build up for this tag team match was non-existent. We haven't seen New Day in a long time. We super haven't seen the War Raiders in a long time. It was a good tag team match nonetheless. Obviously a bit short. Like I said, the match is only 6-7 minutes. This was pretty much a, hey, let's get out there, do a couple of moves, get these titles off of you, let's get on to the back. And we're gonna, no need to analyze, word check what was going on with this storyline. I am interested to see what the New Day do, if they can get more TV time, because their storyline was super cool at first, but then they just stopped progressing it. So interested to see where that goes, which led us into another shorter match, but I guess longer by women's standards, which was Jade Cargill, and Lord, that girl is fine, versus Naomi, who is also fine. And this was I ain't gonna say it's the culmination, because I expect this storyline to, I don't know, the way Jade Cargill was tweeting though, she's making it seem like the feud is over. She got her get back, so we'll see. Great match for the length that it was. They have super chemistry. You can tell they're super good friends. And I love this match. They both look super good. super in shape. Couple of nip slips from Jade Cargill too, if you pay close attention. But I ain't gonna be creeping now. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, that outfit was a little loosey goosey, girl. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, that was a great match. Looking forward to seeing if they truly do end this feud. I wish they didn't. I wish it would have been more than one match. But I guess WrestleMania is the ultimate show where you end these storylines or whatever. So takes us into Jacob Fatu versus LA Knight. I can't remember who I predicted for that Jade Cargill and Naomi match, but I think I took Jade Cargill. So I'm gonna say I'm 3-0. Y'all correct me in the comments if I'm wrong though. I did take Jacob Fatu. He won. 10-minute match. I definitely had in my mind that once they had LA Knight take the title off of Shinsuke, that Jacob was going to win this. I really see that WWE doesn't like. They do it sometimes. I really see their thing is not to have heels take the titles off of other heels. Obviously, that version of Shinsuke was a heel. It's a new character, so you have to have him lose to a face, and that's exactly what they did when he lost to LA Knight. I just kind of knew that LA Knight was a placeholder. They haven't been letting them rock out like how they normally do, and that will take us to El Grande Americano against what was supposed to be Rey Mysterio, but wasn't medically cleared to compete. So Rey Fenix, who is newly signed to WWE, stepped in and was defeated. Another short match, about 5-6 minutes. Great back and forths. Now, when it comes to the luchadors, you really don't need a long match because they give you so much in so little time. You know what I'm saying? Pause. And it's just like the move sets be absolutely ridiculous, flipping all over the place, doing all these moves that you only see them do, and all you need is like a good 5-6 minutes or whatever. So glad they gave Americano this W. Not really big on them having Rey Fenix lose so much, and he just got to WWE. That's something to keep an eye out on. Which brings us to Tiffany Stratton versus Charlotte Flair. Now, I know I got this one wrong because I predicted Charlotte Flair to win. Tiffany Stratton won, which was a kind of a clunky match. You can tell they don't really have chemistry or they don't really like each other. Something's there where this seemed overly choreographed. It didn't flow naturally. As a lot of Charlotte Flair's matches do seem over choreographed. If she's not competing against the likes of maybe like the fellow 4 horsewomen, like a Sasha Banks or a Becky Lynch or a Bayley. And I'll throw Nia Jackson there. Even though she doesn't like Nia Jax, they don't like each other. They do have great chemistry in the ring. But other than that, her matches seem like overly like choreographed or whatever. And it seems like less natural when she's doing these moves and back and forth. This match was actually pretty long. I want to say it's about 15, 20-minute match or whatever. So nice to see them. I'm happy to be wrong about that prediction. Because Tiffany Stratton does deserve like a lengthy run. She is like the up and coming thing. She is like super hot right now in more ways than one. Cause she is smoking hot by looks standards too. I'm glad they just don't just throw the title on Charlotte every time she pops up. Yeah. Which brings us to the main event, and this was a classic match. Seth Rollins versus CM Punk versus Roman Reigns. CM Punk had his theme song played live. This is CM Punk's first WrestleMania main event. His dream is coming true. He has Paul Heyman in his corner. Paul Heyman is the wise man of Roman Reigns. And before we get to the swerve at the end, man, this was a phenomenal match. Every guy outperformed my standards. And that's saying a lot because these guys are 3 legends in the ring. Seth Rollins, CM Punk, Roman Reigns, all 3 larger-than-life wrestling figures right now. The moves, the chemistry, the storytelling, everything was there. Roman Reigns debuted some new gear. I think he debuted his Jordans that he got because he had on some new looking Jordans that I didn't quite recognize. I would have to check with Carpe about that. He's more of the shoe head than I am. Obviously, it was a phenomenal match. This match was about a half hour long, leading up to Paul Heyman low blowing CM Punk and giving the chair to Roman Reigns, or so we thought. Which everybody thought he was screwing CM Punk for Roman Reigns, his tribal chief, only to low blow Roman Reigns and hand the chair to Seth Rollins and help Seth Rollins get this W. Thus, Seth Rollins getting the win, which we also predicted, and becoming the newest Paul Heyman guy. And I'm gonna tell you why I'm a big fan of this. So I guess the rumor mills were true because, like I said in the prediction podcast, the rumors were swirling that Seth Rollins and Paul Heyman were gonna align. I like this because Paul Heyman is definitely too good to be only there on a part-time basis. He needs to be with a full-timer. Seth Rollins is a full-timer. Now, this would be ironically funny if Seth Rollins becomes a Paul Heyman guy and then we see him slowly transition into a part-timer as well. This would be hilarious to me. But we're going to check and see where this goes. Seth Rollins is officially heel again, which we get some of his best work as a heel. The Shield Architect heel, the Monday Night Messiah heel, the snobby whiny heel with the Authority, and the heel that was the first world champion that debuted the song that he has now. So I'm looking forward to seeing where they go with Seth Rollins. Which takes us into night 2. Night 2 started off ultra classic women's match. I don't say that a lot about women's matches. Io Sky defeated Bianca Belair and Rhea Ripley, which I got this wrong. I picked Bianca Belair to win this match. Io Sky does deserve a reign. She is phenomenal in the ring. She's absolutely adorable when it comes to looks. She doesn't speak good English, but you don't have to. It's wrestling. I think that them having wrestlers cut promos in their native language is so cool and it's so different. I like when they do that. This was a classic match. These three also have a lot of chemistry, you could tell, especially Bianca Belair and Rhea Ripley. Hopefully, this feud isn't over. And I'm trying to think. I want the feud to continue with all three of them, but I know somebody's probably going to drop out, whether it's Rhea or Bianca. I hope they feud against each other. I wouldn't mind Bianca and Rhea feuding against each other going forward. But normally, WrestleMania, like I said earlier, WrestleMania is the culmination of all these storylines ending. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, classic match nonetheless. Which brings us to Drew McIntyre versus Damian Priest. And I think I picked Damian Priest. I got this one wrong. Drew McIntyre, who deserves a W. I think it's time to put Drew McIntyre back in the world title picture. And now that we got Jey Uso as champion, I feel like that will open it up for people like Drew McIntyre to get a title shot. Not saying he's going to win it, but at least he can elevate back up to the championship scene. Which takes us into my second favorite moment of the night. A fatal 4-way for the Intercontinental Championship. And now this match, night 2 had some very, very short matches. This match was only about 10 minutes long. The championship match with Io Sky and them was about 10 minutes long. The Drew McIntyre match was about 10 minutes long. Dominic Mysterio defeats Braun Breaker, Finn Balor, and Penta to become the new WWE Intercontinental Championship. We got this prediction right. It is so time. It is so time to have a title on Dominic Mysterio. Also saw maybe a face turn from Dominic. Now, I didn't really want that. I'm expecting Dominic Mysterio versus Finn Balor to be this storyline coming out of this. Judgment Day versus Judgment Day. And yes, before you even ask and wonder, they have done, at least WWE has, a handful of times, they have done splits within the group like that where half the group is heel, half the group is face. They have done that. I've seen it before. Wasn't a big fan of it until I believe, who made me a fan of that? I believe it was the Undisputed Era, where it was 4 of them. I think they were still in NXT at the time. And they had half of them being good guys. I believe it was like the tag team of Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly were like the faces, and they had Adam Hill and Roderick Strong out there, in matches cheating and low blowing people, and what I'm saying, taking advantage of the rep being, what I'm saying. That made me a fan of it. I guess it came down to the star power, and a couple of other groups have done that since then. Bloodline has teased that a few times, where the Usos were kind of like faces and Roman and Solo was still like the heels, but actually, when they were still together, that is. With Sammy often being the tweener before he like fully bought in and stuff like that. So it works. Not sure that that's the route that they're going, but I was saying even if they went that route, it would be super cool if they went that route. You know what I'm saying? So we'll see how that goes. But long overdue for Dominic Mysterio to win this Intercontinental Championship. Also long overdue. I know Braun Breaker lost, but long overdue for Braun Breaker to elevate up to the main event scene. It's time for him to get a world title. I'm actually expecting that's who's going to take the title off of Jey Uso or whatever. So I'm actually expecting that and look forward to seeing what's going on, which brings us to Randy Orton's open challenge. Turns out it was Joe Hendry. Say his name and he appears. I believe in Joe Hendry. This match was about 2 minutes long. As soon as Joe Hendry got through the entrance, bell rang, RKO, 1, 2, 3, this is over. Funny seeing Randy Orton do the Joe Hendry turnaround. That was hilarious to see before doing his iconic Randy Orton pose. It's happy to see OG Randy Orton, such a fan of the younger and different nuanced wrestlers like a Joe Hendry and stuff like that. You could tell Randy Orton is really having fun with what he does. It's the polar opposite of how I felt like Edge was before he left WWE. Edge used to kind of mug and not really be a big fan of like the Grayson Wallers, Austin Theories and stuff like that. I'm glad Randy Orton is bought in and is having fun with these younger guys like this because it's a different time. So you're gonna have different wrestlers and interests and music and stuff like that. So shout out to Randy, good W. Which brings us into we got that prediction right, by the way. I think the only match we got wrong tonight was the Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest. I think I had Damian Priest in that one. Other than that, we were white hot with the picks tonight. Logan Paul defeated AJ Styles. This match was rather long. Probably, I want to say maybe almost the longest match of the night, I think. Logan Paul is a really, really great wrestler. He is really, really good at what he does. He's a perfect heel. He knows how to talk shit. He knows how to get you booing him. And he has a moveset that is absolutely phenomenal. You pair that up with the legendary AJ Styles, and this was a match that was a match. This was I'm not going to say it was a classic match, but this was a great match. Big fans of AJ Styles. I'm guessing the titles for AJ Styles era is over. Maybe he does win a title here or there, but I guess the world title is over. He's just putting guys over at this point. And maybe he does get hot and they do something with him, but I'm appreciating AJ Styles while he's still here. I know he's a bit older. I know he said that at the end of his contract, I think he just recently signed a contract. At the end of his contract, he's going to be pretty much done. So I'm appreciating AJ Styles while he's here. Logan Paul, if Logan Paul could be a full-timer, he needs a title. But because WWE has this thing where their best performers are really part-timers. Now, I don't know if that's a coincidence that maybe they're just not putting their body on the line as much so they can do more daunting tasks when they are fighting, but they have to figure out something on how to get some of these guys full-time because these guys are spectacle. I can't believe I just said that about Logan Paul, but Logan Paul is a spectacle. Which brings us to the women's tag team match, which saw Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez, versus Lyra Valkyria and a returning Becky Lynch after Bayley was written out of the match. Obviously a medical angle. And we did get this right on the technicality that we did think Liv and them was going to lose the titles. And I just had it being for Bailey and Lyra. But we'll take Lyra and Becky Lynch, which was interesting because I think the last time Becky Lynch was here, that's who she was feuding against was Lyra. So good to see they squashed they, squabbles and are the new women's tag team champions. Becky has been gone for just about a year. And she comes back opening night and wins some gold. I like to see it. Interested to see what Judgment Day goes because Dominic being the only champion in Judgment Day right now should, by their own standards and previous routines, should make him the quasi leader of the group. That's normally how it was ran. We'll see what goes, and we'll see if this is the official start of the breakup of Judgment Day. Hopefully him and Liv Morgan stay together because I'm digging the Bonnie and Clyde storyline. So hopefully they continue to do that for a little bit longer before one of them eventually turns on the other, which we'll probably see Liv turning on Dom or something since Dom is kind of going towards a face run, it looks like. But not to get too caught up in that, but that brings us to my favorite moment of WrestleMania weekend. The main event of main event shows, which saw WWE Undisputed Champion Cody Rhodes versus John the Don Cena. And this was a great match. John Cena really just trying to appreciate John Cena. We know this is his last run. He's retiring at the end of this storyline. He's retiring at the end of this run. There was ups and downs with this match. For me, the downs were more so the nuances. We didn't get a culmination of the storyline of The Rock aligning with John Cena. After that night happened, we haven't even seen The Rock. Now, I will say this. John Cena did get help from Travis Scott. I expected Travis Scott to be there. I think I did predict that. I expected one of them to be there, if not both. But I also was wrong because I expected a new member to help to show up too. And we didn't get that. We didn't get The Rock. We did get Travis Scott showing up and trying to help John Cena win, which is something I never thought I would say in my life. It comes down to Cody, they're teasing such a heel turn with Cody, and I'm guessing they're going to pull the trigger on this in the next few months. I would be surprised if we get to SummerSlam and Cody's not healed by then, because all this frustration that's been boiling up with him, it has to explode at some point. He had a chance to win, had a chance to cheat, didn't want to do it. Tables were turned. John Cena had that same chance. Low blow, used the title. I like how it's an old school. It was an old school title win for a heel. Low blow. I can't remember the last time I seen somebody actually use the title, hit somebody with the title, throw it out the ring, and then pin and get the win. You know what I'm saying? It's so old school that some of these moves, these finishes, and these stories that they were telling. Huge fan of it. John Cena has broken Ric Flair's record as the having the championship the most times. John Cena is now a 17-time champion. Well deserved. So glad he got it. I kind of felt like it had to culminate with him winning this championship. You just kind of knew they were going to get John one more title run before he retired. He really deserved to break this record. He's been a company man for 25 years. That's a quarter of a century. You have to reward him for that. This heel work has been not up to what everybody thought it was, but this heel work has been phenomenal from John Cena. I like it because it's more so he's a all around heel. He's a mind game heel where he's a heel, but he's making you think that the crowd is the one that turned on him. You know what I'm saying? This entire build up, his problem wasn't with Cody Rhodes. And I'm gonna get into this before we switch to basketball. His problem wasn't with Cody Rhodes. His problem was with the fans. You know what I'm saying? Also, the tidbits of Cody Rhodes getting the better of John Cena these last 3 weeks on the microphone and physically kind of had the writing on the wall. Normally, if you get the better of somebody leading into a match for a few weeks in a row, you tend to going to lose that match. I'm very interested to see where they go as far as like the storyline with John Cena and Cody. I'm also intrigued because it was like, what was the point of like aligning with The Rock if you didn't really need The Rock? Because you got to think, to get the title match, John Cena had to win the Elimination Chamber, and The Rock wasn't involved with that, and John Cena won on his own. You know what I'm saying? And outside of like the failed attempt from Travis Scott, obviously John Cena did get a low blow and did, clock Cody with the title. But he pretty much won the title on his own too. You know what I'm saying? So what was the point of like selling your soul to The Rock if you ain't really need to? Like, you know what I mean? So hopefully, I can't see, The Rock missing WrestleMania makes me think he's just completely dropped out of this storyline. But we'll see going forward. But that wraps up WrestleMania. Solid show, not really great, but super solid. It definitely has some classic matches in there. But maybe, I know they're not going to do it for money purposes, but maybe going forward can just kind of trim down the fat on like WrestleMania. You know what I'm saying? Because it definitely deserves to be a little shorter, so maybe people can enjoy it a little more. Without further ado, let's get into the NBA portion of things, and we're kind of going to run through this so we don't get too long, drawn out. Opening weekend saw the Bucks and Pacers, and this was a rout. I predicted that the Pacers will win this series. I just really feel like the Bucks just don't have enough. Like I said, I know Dame didn't play. They said Dame should come back by game 3. Might be too late, might not, who knows. But I just feel like the Bucks don't have enough outside of Dame and Giannis to compete with like the Pacers and the not high flying, but fast paced offense. You know what I'm saying? So that was a dud, which takes us into the Clippers and Nuggets, which was probably the only competitive game of the weekend, I think. We'll see. And I was so pleasantly surprised how competitive and how awesome this game was. James Harden, who's been balling like a man on fire, played his ass off. Kawhi, who looks healthy, played his ass off. You're going to get what you get from Jokic. You're going to get what you get from Jamal Murray. And Russell Westbrook, who was the savior this particular game, did his thing. He had some knucklehead moments, but he did his thing. This should be a very entertaining series. I had the Clippers winning this series, so we'll see. You're not going to get too high or get too low based on one game, so we'll keep that into perspective definitely. Which brings us to the Knicks and Pistons, which the Knicks got this W. Again, Pistons played great. Just feel like the Knicks just have a little too much for them. You know what I'm saying? Pistons need to add to the roster. Need to bring in a couple more veterans, couple more key pieces. They ain't got to be nothing too extravagant because they're so good already. They just have to keep developing Cade and bring in like a couple other pieces. Nothing extravagant though. But yeah, Knicks got that W, which took us to the nightcap, which was the Timberwolves versus the Lakers in another rout. Timberwolves absolutely destroyed the Lakers, and this game was over pretty much into the second quarter. Anthony Edwards had got injured. He got hurt, I want to say sometime into the third quarter, and when he left and went to the locker room, the Lakers did make it very interesting. But as soon as he came back out into the game, it commenced to being exactly what it was when he was out there previously, which was a blowout. So I picked the Lakers to win this series, but this has upset written all over it. I'm interested to see game 2s. Again, like I said, we're not going to get high or low on W's and L's, but I'm interested to see a bunch of these game 2s because these were blowouts this weekend. You know what I'm saying? Which took us to the Thunder versus the Grizzlies, and the Thunder wins game 1 by 51 points. Grizzlies didn't even show up. Like I said on Twitter, man, Ja Morant, halfway through that first quarter, he should have pulled out real grenades and let that shit fly, because they were a complete no-show. They got dismantled. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander didn't even do much of anything, and they were completely destroyed by the Thunder. Now I did predict that this probably will be a sweep, but I didn't think they would be getting beat on like this. The good thing about that is there's no way to go but up. You lose by 50, you have to play better. There's just no point in that. There's no way you can play that bad again. You know what I'm saying? Which takes us to the Celtics and Magic, and another game that wasn't particularly close. Celtics get this one by 17. I feel like this will be a tougher series than most series because I know the Magic are going to come back and be way better in certain areas where they were just kind of slumming. But I do also think that the Magic just don't have enough firepower to match the Celtics. And this is a 17-point win, and Tatum didn't play well. Porzingis didn't play well. They were led by Derek White and Peyton Pritchard, and a nice solid showing from Jaylen Brown. But they were really carried by Derek White and Peyton Pritchard. So hopefully we don't have to rely on them two. It's a luxury that we can on certain nights, but hopefully this isn't a thing. Which takes us to the Heat and Cavaliers, which is also another blowout. Cavaliers just have too much for the Heat. Ty Jerome, his playoff debut, 28 points, and he had it was a stretch where I was just in awe because he scored 18, 20 straight for Cleveland. You know what I'm saying? So it was like he was out there, he was cooking. So that was kind of scary to see. You know what I'm saying? So hopefully we can watch game 2. Hopefully they ain't no little secret weapon that they unleashing or whatever, because that's a little scary right there. You know what I'm saying? Excuse me. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, that's super wild. But yeah, another blowout. And I just feel like the Heat just don't have enough. They got one of the greatest coaches of all time in Eric Spoelstra. But it's only but so much he can do without the talent. And yeah. Which brings us to the nightcap for Sunday night, which saw the Warriors defeat the Rockets. I think most people have the Warriors winning this series, and last night was again, you're never going to put too much into a game one, but last night was a good indication because Houston was clicking on all cylinders at first, and once the Warriors settled in, they did what they do. They take over and they methodically, put you away, and they ended up winning by 10 points. So out of 8 games this weekend, only one was decided within double digits. Only one. The other 7 were wins by at least 10 or more points. 7 of the 8 games were won by at least 10 or more points. Absolutely crazy to think of that. It is crazy to think of that. Hopefully these series get a little bit better. And if not, then I guess we'll just be quickly on to round 2 if everybody's going to sweep or end stuff in 5 type shit. So all throughout the week, these games are scattered. So you got people playing Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday until we go back to next weekend, assuming these series are still around. And then we may get a whole another weekend full of basketball. Hopefully y'all enjoyed the recap. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Really appreciate y'all for taking the time out to listen. It means a lot to me. I know these are pretty lengthy and stuff like that, so I know it takes time to listen to it. I really appreciate that. And yeah, I will talk to y'all next week. I think next week we're gonna be talking about my life in the IT field and how it's affected me in all other aspects of life, and how it's affected me mentally, physically, spiritually, and so on and so forth. We're gonna really get into the IT stuff a little bit. We're gonna get into real life as well, but it's gonna it's gonna stem from my journey in the IT world. So that'll be next week's topic. I will talk to y'all then. Have a good day.